Good evening, everyone. This is the Carver Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for the date of July 27, 2020. We are in meeting room 4, and it's 2 or 3 minutes after 7 p.m. on July 27th. The first order of business is approval of our meeting minutes from June 22, 2021. And as is my custom, I have received these minutes from our clerk, and edits have been made for the sake of syntactical accuracy and spelling and so forth. So we now have a final edited draft for everybody's approval or comment if changes need to be made. Do I hear anybody who would like to make a change, amendment, or any sort of alteration to this? I have one from myself. Under, on the first page, under B, the second paragraph references, the last sentence says, quoting, approximately 29,000 square feet of lot size relief is also necessary due to lot size requirements under the bylaw. And I believe that's a 60,000 square foot requirement. So I'd like to add in parentheses before the end of that sentence, 60,000 square feet required. Just for the sake of accuracy and...
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, could you tell me where?
Yeah.
First page, under second paragraph. Do I have the right minutes even?
Yeah, those are what we have.
Okay, Mr. Porter is going to show me what he has.
Oh, okay. That's what I...
Okay, that's an old one. So let me go back. I need to make that edit to the meeting minutes of June 22. What do you have? You have
This is
June 22.
Why do I have this listed as June 22? I'm not sure.
Wasn't that what our last meeting was?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's correct, but you have a different version of the minutes than we do.
okay. So you probably have, yeah, you probably have the
Originals?
the original, maybe? But I'm perfectly fine with this now that I read that particular paragraph. So allow me to withdraw what I just said.
Okay.
All right.
That's a never mind.
All right.
That's a much cleaner version. Okay, so having said that, are we good to go on this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to accept these minutes as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So those meeting minutes are approved. Now, we have 3 continued public hearings this evening, and the comments that I want to make now apply to all 3 of these.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we need to reorganize?
Yeah, we can reorganize, but before we do, can I just finish this comment? Because it may save some folks some time. We are sitting as a board of 4 tonight, as you can see. Our usual membership is 5. Our usual voting membership is 5. So when this happens, a unanimous vote is required for relief to be granted, whatever relief it is that you're looking for. So it would have to be a 4-0 vote in your favor. However, if we were sitting as a board of 5, you would be able to prevail if the vote of this board was 4-1. So it doesn't need to be unanimous as it does when we sit as a board of 4. So for any of you who are here tonight for your case, if you would prefer to wait until our next hearing, which will be in August, our next public meeting, which will be in August, please let us know now. There will be no prejudice that will accrue to you or your case if you decide that you would prefer to wait for a full board of 5. So you can hedge your bets a little bit doing that. If you're confident that you can sway all four of us tonight, then we're happy to hear the case, so long as you understand that it's got to be all four of us that vote in favor. So does anybody need to think about this, or go outside and talk about it a little, or are we good? Okay, everybody good? Great, so nobody has to leave. And now the next thing that comes up, as the vice chair indicated, was a reorganization of the board. Now again, we are sitting as a board of 4 tonight. Do we want to postpone this a month until we have our 5th member present? Or do we want to go forward now with this?
You really think it'll change the outcome? Why don't we postpone, we'll table that for another meeting, for our next meeting.
What do you think, Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Yes, it does allow everybody a voice, even though Ms. Clark seems to think the outcome is predetermined. So we will table agenda item B, reorganization of the board, until our next meeting, which will be in August. Now, having said that, we should probably talk about when our next meeting is going to be, because we do have one new case in the queue, which is going to take some time when we get to it next month. And one or more of these cases tonight might require another continuance, I don't know. But we will need to meet in August. So, what works for you folks?
Do you know if they've started advertising yet?
I think I do know, and I believe the answer is no, they haven't.
They have not.
And the application just came in yesterday.
We can't hear that case till the week of the 23rd anyway then.
Right. So, towards the end of August.
Yep, the last week of August.
The last day of the month is it's Tuesday the 31st. Not that it has to be a Tuesday.
Yeah,
We've been
and-
meeting Tuesdays, so
We can do a different day of the week, so we can accommodate the petitioner in that case and any other petitioners that might need to be accommodated before then.
Well, we have to set the date now.
Right, so,
I would say Tuesday the 24th. How's everybody looking?
I'm free the 24th or the 31st.
Mr. Porter,
I don't want to lead into
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day, yeah.
Okay, you good on the 24th? We can do the 25th, 26th. Doesn't have to be the Tuesday.
24th is fine for me.
Ms. Clark?
Yeah, get this in before the RDA claims.
Ms. Mello?
Yes, 24th.
Okay, so the next meeting of the board will be August 24th at 7 p.m. And at that time, assuming we have a full complement of members, we will take up the reorganization. But in the meantime, we have 3 continued cases for this evening. The first one is case number 41-6C, the petitioner being M.O. Lyons Realty LLC, requesting dimensional variances pursuant to sections 2320 and 5222 of the Carver zoning bylaw for property located at 129 Center Street in Carver, Massachusetts. Assessors map 41 lot 6C, so as to construct a single-family dwelling with driveway and utilities on an existing lot in the residential agricultural district. Variances are being requested due to the need for side setback and lot size relief, which this lot also has an electrical easement and right-of-way located in the lot. Who is here for the petition?
Chris Lyons. Manager of Mo Lyons Realty.
I'm sorry?
Manager of Mo Lyons Realty.
Okay, why don't you come up and sit in the center chair for us? And I don't recall who it was that you folks sent for the hearing when this matter was opened for us last month. Do you recall the name of that person?
Kevin Grady, from Grady Engineering.
Grady, Grady?
Yep.
And Kevin is who to you?
He's the engineer, site, civil engineer.
Okay. And is he connected with some company or business that has a name that you could tell us?
Grady Consultants?
Grady Consultants?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, according to our minutes, we had Scott Finaro
Okay, do we need to go back and amend
from
them?
Greater Consulting.
Yeah, you're right. Kevin was at the conservation hearing, Scott was at the
Okay.
zoning one. Yeah, you're right.
Scott who?
Finaro.
Okay, so we got that right.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Fourth one, please, so.
That's all right, no harm done. But I do want to, for the record, clear something up. And you may or may not have an insight into this, Mr. Lyons, but after our meeting last month, this matter bounced back to the Conservation Commission.
Yes, we have another meeting. All right.
And the person who went to that meeting on your behalf, was that Kevin Grady?
That was Kevin, correct.
Okay. Mr. Grady represented to the Conservation Commission that they had waited, or you folks had waited for months to get on our agenda, the ZBA agenda. Again, so the record is clear, we're very conscious about giving people public hearings as promptly as possible. That's after publication has occurred and we have satisfied certain legal requirements. In this case, Mr. Lyons, the application was stamped as received on May 13th, and you folks were before us 1 month later. I am not clear on why this representation was made on your behalf by Mr. Grady, but the fact is that you folks did not wait for months to get on our agenda. And this kind of misrepresentation doesn't do the Conservation Commission any good, nor does it do us any good.
So I have some insight in there, and I think I know what he was getting at.
Great.
So when we went to our initial conservation hearing, they recommended that we seek relief from the zoning board, and the process of that would be to file for our building, so we had to contact the building department. They said to file for a building application, and it would need to be denied prior to us getting a zoning, an appeal, right, granted to us. So we filed for a building permit application. We never heard anything. I still have not heard anything. That was filed, I don't know, maybe March maybe, or February. We never got a denial. And we
From the,
eventually just
you mean
got-
from the building commissioner?
Correct.
All right, that has nothing to do with us.
I get it, but that's probably where he was coming from, because eventually we just kind of gave up and filed for zoning anyway, and it just, so I think that's where he was going with it, just FYI.
For your information and for those at home, this board is an appellate board. We do not, in any way, shape, manner, or form, get involved in what's going on at Town Hall. Those decisions, those initial decisions, are made by those folks, and if those decisions are disagreed with by a petitioner, then they come up to us. So we're walled off from all that stuff.
Yeah.
And when we heard the public hearing on TV before the Conservation Commission, this last time, which was, what, about 2 weeks ago that you
Yeah,
guys,
roughly.
and that representation was made, I was concerned that that sort of information was being put out there. He also,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
Can
I'm
I just
sorry.
interject?
Go ahead.
I have the denial letter here dated April 21st,
I've never seen that.
26th, I'm sorry, a
I've
few
never
days
seen
later.
that. I'm the one who applied for the permit, so I probably should have been the one contacted.
It was in your application package.
Scott must have got that somehow. I've never even seen that.
Okay.
Obviously, there's some communication issues here, and I'm glad that we've cleared that up for the record. These are the facts.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to mention to you is you're the petitioner here, and like it or not, you're responsible for the testimony that comes out of the mouths of people who are coming in to speak for you, either at this board or others. There was a representation made by your person at the Conservation Commission a couple of weeks ago. and I'm quoting here, "There's no way that this board was going to approve this petition, and they were going to deny it." That also was a comment that was not based in any way, shape, manner, or form on fact. Ms. Clark requested additional information, and that's why this case is over tonight for further testimony. We made no decisions last time. He may have heard some things from individual board members that gave him reason to think that this case was going one way or the other. But at the end, I think we were all very clear that no decision had been made and that we needed more information. So again, for the sake of clarity, based on the facts, we want to say to you right now that we did not indicate to you that we weren't going to approve, or indicate to your representative that we weren't going to approve, and that instead we were going to deny it. And here we are tonight, waiting for additional information, so I think that's proof in the pudding that, you know, no decision had been made as he represented to the Conservation Commission. I'll let this go in a second. Sometimes we have boards that have jurisdiction over certain pieces of projects that people want to get done and permitted. So we have come up against the planning board before, because they sometimes have to make decisions on cases that might also require zoning relief or vice versa. Conservation Commission also has its own jurisdiction over so-called green issues. Our jurisdiction is very separate and very distinct, and it is, as I said, appellate. Once it gets to us, whatever decision we make is not going to be reversed by anybody in town hall or any other board or committee. The only way any of our decisions get reversed is in a court of law. And Ms. Clark will tell you, since she's the senior member here, that this board hasn't been reversed in a court of law in how many years?
30?
We stand by our record. Mr. Lyons, the floor is yours.
So I know that one of the board members was going to do a little bit of research on the title portion of that.
That would be Ms. Clark.
Ms. Clark, and to see if I might, let's make sure I'm not wrong here, but that we were going to try to use the previously approved subdivision plan, the zoning requirements from back then, which we were trying to figure what date that was, but I think it was in the early 80s or mid 80s.
That subdivision plan, 1970.
Oh, 70, okay. And try to use that existing plan if it was still in effect.
There's a law in zoning that for pre-existing non-conforming lots that have not been built on yet, which this is one. So that if you have a pre-existing non-conforming lot, which is on an A&R plan, approval not required, or even on an approved subdivision plan, and it predates around 1975, which is when the state adopted zoning and allowed us to change our zoning requirements. So this was on, I have a plan that your representative had given it to me before, and it needed, in order to meet the basic requirements, it needs 50 feet of frontage and a total gross area of 7,500 square feet. You have that. You have 150 feet of frontage and 30-odd thousand square feet. It even conforms to our current frontage requirements. So I needed to just double check that, check the plan, check when we approved zoning. And then the other key is that this was tax title, a tax lien foreclosure. A tax lien foreclosure will wipe out pre-existing protections, you know, what we used to call grandfathering. So it will wipe it out if there had ever been a abutting property that was also owned by the same person or taken for the town for taxes. And this had three additional lots. All of them went out prior to this one in '82. This one was taken for taxes in '82 and not foreclosed on until 2019. So, you know, it met that requirement too. So those were the things in my profession that I would have checked anyway, and that's what I asked for a little extra time on, because I know the laws and I know the bylaws, but I needed to make sure that this fit that.
Okay.
Because that takes a couple of things out of play. It takes the size out of play, but it doesn't take the need for a variance out of play for the lot size, or the side lot. That reverts to current zoning. If you were taking, if there had been a house here and you were rebuilding on the same spot, it would be just a rebuild special permit kind of thing. If you were building it in the center, where you met 50 feet from the street and 30 feet from the side lot, we wouldn't be here. Because everything, based on the fact that it's a pre-existing non-conforming grandfathered in lot, it would conform. So all you have to do is meet all of that, and you don't need anything from us. And my question is there any reason why you can't put this house where it would conform?
Yeah, and the answer would be, number one, the electrical easement, and then number two would be the wetlands. We tried a couple different times. In between the last meeting that we had at ZBA, we had another conservation hearing, and we tried a different location with the house and the third try with a different location and size and whatnot to kind of, improve upon getting further away from the wetlands and also staying out of the easement and still trying to fit into the zoning requirements. They officially denied that plan as well. So realistically, the only way to make this house happen is to, A, get relief on the zoning, somewhat, get 10 feet closer to the lot line there, and then still have to go back to conservation and file again to try to get a little bit of relief. We'll be out of the 65-foot buffer, but I think we'd still have a little bit of, like, the well will needs to get relief, which they said wouldn't be a problem, and we might need a little bit of relief on the 100-foot buffer. But in order to make that happen, we have to get the zoning relief, or else it wouldn't work anyway. So, last meeting was officially denied. We tried a couple times.
At conservation?
At conservation, yeah, because it's just.
And why did they deny you?
The first one they denied it because they said that we were too far into the 65-foot buffer, which,
Was the house somewhere else?
It was in a different location. Yeah, and it met zoning requirements. So originally
it was.
Yeah, it met the zoning requirements. It was actually like close to here, and so we were inside that zoning. Right.
So you can't slide this house over 10 feet?
Well, here's the easement right there. We're following the line tight. That's the electrical.
This is the electrical.
Yeah. That's that dotted line right there. That's the seat. If you
You're
look at that.
within 1 foot of that electrical easement.
Correct. Yeah, I'm right on it. I'm hugging that line the whole way.
You're gonna put a house 1 foot away from an electrical easement. Aren't they gonna need to get in there to mow and maintain?
Well, they have this access road over here, so they have access to it on this side of it.
You mean they're gonna have to traipse across the backyard of somebody's property if this house is built?
Have you,
No, not really. It's gonna be more, so this originally we were gonna use this driveway, because this is existing. This is how they get into that, and there's also some bogs over here. And originally we were gonna put the house like here-ish, right? And make it so that we come in from this direction. But it was too close inside here and they didn't like it. So they had suggested to us, why don't you get a little bit of relief on the zoning and pull the house further up here. It'll come out of the most of the, I'm still in the 100, but, I'm much significantly improved. Yeah, I'm significantly improving my conservation issue. And we said, great, and we came here, and then, at the last zoning hearing, said, yeah, the chances of this working isn't great because, we could do some more research on it. So we actually went back to...
Nobody said the chances of this isn't working.
Well, that was the impression that Grady's had. Okay. So we went back to conservation with another plan, and the plan was to kind of shoehorn the house right on this line and right on this line, like right here, which is kind of a crazy idea, but we were hoping to try to make everybody happy in a way. And Conservation said, we appreciate that you're trying to, not get inside the 60-foot buffer, but what they didn't appreciate is that at that point, the entirety of the house would then be within the 100-foot buffer, and they said that they didn't like that, So they kind of, they thought, well, hey, we're glad you tried, but, sorry, we can't approve that.
What's this thing here?
That's where the well is. So they said they won't have an issue with that.
So the well is up here, and
Yeah.
this is your well line.
Correct, because it needs to be a certain distance away from the septic here. There's a septic over here and a septic over here. So you have to kind of dodge these and dodge the new septic, and that's why it's way back there. But we did ask that question, and the chairman of the Conservation Commission said that there's no problem with that. They'll approve that because this will eventually grow back in, so not a big deal. It was more about they didn't want us to go inside this if we could help it, and they didn't want the entirety of the house in the 100. In this case, they felt like if we could just kind of split the difference and make kind of appease everybody as best we could, then that's kind of what their interpretation of it was, and that's why we're a little bit in the 100. We're going to have to refile if the ZBA does eventually approve this, and they'll grant us that theoretically. I mean, we still have to go through it, but in order to do that, we have to get to get closer over there and frontage too, but I know the easement's terrible. It goes right through there.
I mean, it's a 30-foot easement. How?
It's 50. It's 50, right? Yeah.
It's 30 on the actual taking.
So,
Because I read the easement.
yeah.
I went back to 1917, found the easement.
Oh, the electrical easement was there that long ago? I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Oh, I thought it was newer.
No.
Okay.
Excuse me. And I have it here, actually. And I think the assessors show a 30-foot easement. So how wide is this thing?
I thought this was 50. I thought it was...
Or is this where the line goes up?
that's the power lines, yeah.
These
That's
are the power lines.
Yeah, and then you need to have that
Excuse me.
this space, because what they do is, this is what I've been told, but they drop pesticides down like this. They don't mow it. They just drop pesticides along this line, and they want
You're gonna put a house there?
Well, they
where
wanna give you-
drop
they-
pesticides like that?
You see it all over the place. They do it everywhere. That's why they have this line, because they drop pesticides here, but they give this buffer so that you don't get near it. That's the.
Well, I think
I've seen it closer than that.
Ms. Mello's underlying concern here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is an undersized lot to begin with, right? This is half the size of what's required in the town of Carver.
Agreed. But I think part of the thing is, I used to live on Center Street. I lived like 10 houses down from here. All the lots on that street are like that. I mean, that's an old road, right? So
Right.
you figure most of those lots are that size.
What does this reserve here mean on this? Right there. What does that mean?
That's the septic field. See this right here? That's the septic field. There's the tanks. There's the field. It's
That's
buried
the
under the
leaching field?
Yeah, it's underneath the driveway.
Can you put it underneath the driveway?
Yeah, the last house I built, I put it in the driveway. It's expensive, but you can do it. You just gotta get the right tank.
So what does reserve mean?
I think that's the area reserved for the leaching field. I think that's what denote. I'm not an engineer, but I think that's what it's calling out. Those are the two, so you can see the.
Yeah, I see those.
Yeah, and
Ones that-
that's the field. That's what that outline is. That's the septic field. You can see the line. So
Have you talked to the DPW or police and fire about two driveways on the same lot?
I have not. That access road, that dirt road there,
Mhm.
it actually goes back to, there's definitely houses back there. There's a bog back there. It's an access road to the bog, so.
But it's a curb cut. I mean, it's a driveway. I've driven by it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's full, it's been there forever, yeah.
Right, so that's on this lot, and a new driveway would be on this lot.
Yeah.
So that's two driveways coming out of the same lot opposite BA Drive, which is, I don't know, what's there, a dozen houses back there?
I think, so not to get super complicated, but I think technically not anymore, because I think, depending on which plan you're looking at, but
This is the only one I have.
No, I mean, like, if you go back in the old plans of lots, at some point in time, this lot, when they built this house, who ended up actually being my father-in-law, which is funny when I did some research, Grady did this lot, and I think he must have needed a little bit of more frontage, because he actually stole a little bite out of this corner. So depending on which plan you're looking at, in some plans, this is how this lot looks, and in other plans, that bite's gone out of it, so. Depends on which one you want to go by.
That's a problem.
I know, but we didn't know how to solve it because it was never put in a record. If you look at the plan that you see at the Registry of Deeds, like this is the plan that should be there because it was never granted. But the plan, I think that this house got, they put up, stole that little piece off.
When it says lot line from plan 41749. That's a problem.
I think that, so to me, this is the accurate one, and the one that they did when they built this house, I think they just did it. I don't think anything, I don't.
There wasn't a land exchange? Because I didn't run the title.
I went way back, because I was looking at something else on the title, and,
I mean, you went way back, but did you bring it forward?
well, I had the title search done because we were looking for, I forget what we were looking for something specific, but we took the.
Did you find it?
I think we were looking for that. We couldn't find anything on record that happened. Like this house just basically tried to steal, I think they just tried to use that as their frontage is what they were trying to do,
What they
I think.
tried to use what?
Use a little
This
bit of this
little-
lot, yeah.
So when they're talking about this lot line coming down here, you think this?
Yeah, I think, but it got a little murky. It was done in the 80s, so that's it.
Well, when that was done, because if there's any kind of a little land swap or a little deed out that, I can find that, because I know what I'm looking for, or doing whatever, or the land court examiner, and it didn't get transferred this way, then that changes your grandfathering.
I appreciate that. The reason why he didn't.
And that's
go down-
critical,
That's,
because if you lose your grandfathering,
The reason why we didn't go down that rabbit hole too far was because, it did add a little bit of square footage to the overall lot, but we weren't in danger of the frontage being any different, and it didn't help us as far as any of the other things, so,
but it changes the definition of the grandfathering.
okay.
yeah.
There was no land swap done, like, there's no record of anybody buying or trading or anything, giving it away or anything. There's nothing like that. It was just, on the house that was next door, when they put their plan in place, and I don't think it ever got recorded at the registry, but they needed, I assume that the reason why they did it is they needed a little bit more frontage, and they just kind of stole a couple feet from there and put it on their plan. It's not on our plan, but it's on their plan.
But you can't do that.
Yeah.
While the wheels are turning to my left and right, I wanted to go over a conversation that I had with your representative when you folks were before us the last time, and it has to do with the requirements under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48. It's state law, it's not local bylaw. In order for us to grant a variance, talking generally now, not specific to your case, you have to be able to demonstrate one of three things. You have to be able to demonstrate that there's something unusual about the shape, the soil, or the topography of the lot that distinguishes it from other property in the district. You know about this. This is basic. So when he was here the last time, I asked him a series of questions. I said, what about shape? He said, well, this is an unusual situation insofar as shape is concerned because there's an easement that runs through it in a right-of-way. So we went past that briefly, and then I asked him about soil conditions. He said, no, soil conditions, everything's good with soil
Does
conditions.
wetlands count for soil conditions?
Yeah, let me get back to that. And then topography, and he admits there's no issues with topography. So the conversation turned back to shape because that was the argument that he made before us. And sometimes people who come before us confuse shape with size. This is a common mistake made. They're not the same thing, obviously, and I pointed out to your representative that clearly this lot is encumbered by the presence of the electrical easement and the right-of-way, but that doesn't alter the shape of this lot, which is almost perfectly rectangular. Laying aside for a minute the discussion that you just had with Vice Chair Clark about whether a bite was taken out of that corner. It's almost perfectly rectangular. So it's really not a shape issue, I told him. I says, you're really arguing size to us because the presence of these encumbrances on the lot merely affects its buildable area, right? It affects where you can place the house. It doesn't change the shape. So I think we were able to get him to see that. This is not a shape argument under 40A, and it's not a topography argument. But he also didn't think it was a soil argument. And there is some wiggle room there when we talk about soil, because if you've got wetlands, obviously that's not an area in which you can normally place a structure, right? So that might be your 40A savior here. But we have this other issue, which is the threshold issue, which is this grandfathered or not? Because if it's not grandfathered, if a chunk was taken out, if we are going to be able to find that in the title, you have a real issue, even more so than you already have with this undersized lot that also is short on one side, given where you place the house on your plan. So I'm just pointing these things out. It's not, as he took it the last time when he was here, an indication from us that we're going to vote no or yes or something in between. It's just we're putting this out there for informational purposes. This is very legalistic, and the person to my left has forgotten more about real estate law than I know. So I defer to her on a lot of these things, and other board members do as well. Ms. Clark, do you feel as if you want to do a title on this and take it back?
Well, I'm not going to do the full title on it, but I know what I'm going to be looking for. But I want one other answer from you, because, I mean, there's arguments to be made, and as long as it's a grandfathered lot, I will look at it one way. If that has been taken away, then I look at it another way. But the other thing I have a little concern about, and I just want clarification either from DPW or police and fire, is if we have two driveways for the same lot within, I don't know, 80 feet of each other along with this easement. I looked at our bylaws and our general bylaws, and it talked about curb cuts, and I did leave that piece of paper on my printer. But it does address it, and it was like one every so many feet. And there was differences between the public roads and like subdivision roads where you might have a circular driveway, that kind of thing. So that I want an answer to, and I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I think I want a site walk. Oh, crickets.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm in agreement with that.
Somebody say something. Because this is really, the lots that we've handled like this, and I told the gentleman in our first hearing, the lots that we've handled like this have either been some of the cottage lots over on Bates Pond where they were never sold, and, you know, it's a grandfathered in, and they're putting in a conforming house. It usually meets all side lot, front lot, back lot. They stick it right in the middle of a small house. Or they're tearing something down and putting it on the same footprint. This is really different. We haven't had one of these in years and years and years. And this one, the impact of the easement is kind of concerning. And the wetlands, the Concom must have gone out there
Yeah. they've been out
to
there.
flag it, yeah.
Well,
Did they go out?
we had the botanist flag it, but then
Right.
at the first zoning hearing, they questioned the line that the botanist had drawn, so they wanted to meet.
The first Concom hearing.
Correct, and they actually went out to see the vegetation line and then ultimately agreed with the line that was there, so
Okay.
they have been out there though.
And someone who knows, refresh my memory, what's the difference between the 65 and the 100 foot?
So in Carver, it's specific to Carver that they have that 65-foot, which I guess is commonly called the no-touch zone.
So that's like the no-build zone.
Yeah, theoretically. That's a Carver thing, and then the 100-foot buffer is more of a
It's more of a
Carver, but
state,
also statewide.
but
so-
statewide.
Right.
So they'll let you go into the 100, but they won't let you go into the 65.
I mean, they still have to grant it, but.
I mean, you're clearly halfway in
Yeah, they still have to
100.
grant it, but what they told us, they're the ones that originally had suggested to go to the zoning, and they said, look, we want to make this happen, we want to do you right, but, we have to be fair about it, fair to the town, and not just let anybody do whatever they want. If you can get a little bit of relief on the zoning, we'll grant you some relief, towards the conservation. And that's why we tried to, like they said, split the difference a little bit and get what we can get as far as we can. So that's the plan that you have in front of you is the split and the difference plan.
Okay.
As best we could do.
Okay.
Because, we had to, in order to do that, we had to steal a little bit on the side and a little bit on the front, but we still stealing a little bit on conservation side too.
And has the Board of Health signed off on the septic for this?
The Board of Health approved
So
the septic and
this
the
was
well.
their plan, right?
This
is the-
Yeah,
this is the
they
septic.
approved the septic and the well. The well's also.
In the well.
Yeah.
So that's up here.
Yeah.
I don't want to be really technical about this, but a little bit of relief has to meet a whole bunch of requirements. I know it sounds like 10 feet. What's 10 feet? What's 10 feet? It's like less than the length of this table. But it has to meet a whole bunch of thresholds that we apply to everybody, whether they want a garage or a shed or, we're not, honestly, we're not picking on you here. But I do want to do a sidewalk. And I do want to, and I'll make the inquiry myself by email to find out about curb cuts. The fact that we would have 2 driveways. And you have to assume 2 cars. It's a busy center road. I know that BA Drive is like 2 house lots up
Yeah,
or 2 house lots down or
it's more or less
one-
like right across the
it's
street practically.
Kind of right
Yeah.
across the street.
Yeah.
And whether that would be a concern, because it kind of would. I mean, that's a tough
2
thing to come in
driveways,
on.
2 curb cuts.
Right. That's what's on the lot. And
How do we deal with the fact that there now is an issue about part of this property having been taken by an abutter to maybe increase their frontage?
well, that would have been a planning board issue at the time of the plan, but that can be,
We need to find that out.
I can take care of that if that's amenable with you.
I had the title searched us. If you want all that documents, I can just forward you everything that they.
If you want to send me the title, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll just give you everything they gave me. I mean, I know they originally went back, I forget, like maybe 50 years or something.
50 years is title standards.
Yeah, and then they went back further just to try to figure some of that stuff out, so.
Yeah, well, this one wouldn't be, because this is a more recent house. This plan was 1970. These other 2 houses all went out before 82, because this lot was taken for taxes in 82 when it was just sitting by itself.
Yeah.
And maybe you can explain to Mr. Lyons, Ms. Clark, why, if this is grandfathered, it makes a difference versus if it isn't, what the repercussions are.
If it's grandfathered, then it's buildable all by itself if you can clear all the boards. The fact that it could have 100 feet of frontage, but if it's on an approved plan prior to 1975, and if it had 50 feet of frontage and 7,500 square feet, then it's considered grandfathered in, or pre-existing non-conforming. And you meet those requirements,
Right.
unless there's been a chunk taken off, which I don't know that the assessors would have been up to date on that, which is why I want to go back and check that.
But if a
But
chunk
it-
was taken off.
If
what
a chunk was taken off, then it loses its grandfathering.
Even if it was done
Mhm.
without anybody's permission.
Well, it was taken for taxes in 1982. It wasn't foreclosed on until 2019, 2018. So anytime in between there, the person who owned it, Edward McGarry, what's his name? Edward McGarry, could have deeded that much to the neighbor. And it takes a little bit of digging. I'm sure your title examiner did a fine job, and if it was there, it was there. But it's a case of tracking it back and then looking at everything, running it forward.
So
which-
if it
which I
loses
can do.
its grandfathered status, you're now subject to all zoning.
You're subject now to all zoning, which would also include a variance of 30,000 square
Right.
feet.
Understood.
And it's
So
a
that's
case,
why it's such an important issue.
I think, so that must have been why they wanted me to get the rest of that info on that tax thing, because they couldn't find anything on it. So I think that must be what they were looking for.
when the tax title was done in 2019 for the tax lien foreclosure, they have what's called a land court examiner. I am not a land court examiner because a land court examiner has to be a lawyer. Technicality. But it does have to, that's a land court examiner. And they do the titles, and it's not usually someone like me. And I don't want you to feel like we're just putting you off. We want to make sure it's right. Because everything we do, we view as a precedent. So, this is not an attractive lot by a long shot. There's a lot of things wrong with it. But if it meets the requirements, then it meets the requirements. And I just want to be sure. And plus, the other thing that I want to be sure of is that we don't get a call from police and fire saying, why is there suddenly a new driveway on Center Street that, people are crashing into? So when people are backing out, I would suggest a turnaround somewhere in the built driveway. But that's how I feel. I don't know if anybody wants to add
Ms. Mello has
anything.
been uncharacteristically silent, but she has
Yes.
not had a poker face, so let's hear from her.
Well, the lot came with the encumbrances that it came with. And I guess question number one I have, are you gonna live in this house?
No.
No, you're building it
Oh, yeah.
to sell. And the lot has a lot of problems to me. If you did not have that easement, you could shift that house over
Yep.
and you're all good. But that easement was there before you bought the lot. So you bought the lot now. So
Good point.
I just, I don't believe that every lot is meant to be built on, especially when it comes with the type of problems that this lot has. But let's go walk the lot and see what it looks like and see what Sharon uncovers.
We'll walk the
The
walk.
good news is I
walk the walk.
haven't bought the lot yet. Somebody else bought it.
So you didn't buy it from the tax title owner, right?
No.
Okay.
So let's,
I mean, they bought it from the town of Carver
Yeah.
with the impression it was buildable for the price they paid
Well,
for it. It's
well,
like
what
that
it-
much.
Yeah, the price that they paid for it is not a buildable lot in this town.
Well, I mean, with the encumbrance of the.
But it was noted as developable, and what that means is not buildable, it's developable if you clear conservation and zoning and whatever it takes, and probably permission from NSTAR or whoever this is.
this lot was purchased out of tax title for $40,000.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Oh, I
Yep.
thought it was more than, they told me.
Yeah.
So a buildable lot that meets zoning in Carver now, you're probably talking non-water, non-cranberry. What would you say?
He would know better than I.
Somewhere between 120 and 160.
I would
I would say
somewhere
you're
in
right.
there.
I I was going to say about 150. And then if it's got water or cranberry bogs, then higher.
Right.
Well, this has bogs in the back.
Yeah, you can't see them.
There's
Can't
also.
see 'em.
it also has- oh, you
Mr.
can't.
Poirier also
No,
has been silent.
line.
What would you like to say, Mr. Poirier?
Well, no, I was just thinking that, I mean, that's the first I've heard of that, and I'm one of the newer members of the board, so I'm learning an awful lot about what goes on here. And I mean, and just hearing that makes me think that somebody was rolling the dice,
Yeah.
right? That's a lot, 40,000 is a lot less than I would have to spend for a lot, and maybe I can sneak something by
Yeah.
the board. I mean,
Well-
and I'm not, but.
I mean,
They're not here.
No, it's just,
They don't have to wait.
that's all.
Mr. Poirier.
Yeah, that's all. And it just, and that was the last thing I heard, but that's very interesting, how much less that was. I mean, I understand why, because of the issues that it has, but, I mean, if they had spent between 120 and 160, they were gonna make darn sure probably that that thing's gonna get by the major issues, because that's a big chunk of money to flop down with no return on investment if it doesn't go through, you know, so.
I did go back and check the posting for the auction that we had in October of 2019, I believe it was, and it did not say it was a buildable lot. It said it was developable, which is, it's under a different category in town, as you probably don't know.
Okay, so if everybody has spoken
Can we pick a
to the extent
cycle?
that they want to speak tonight, let's pick a date. Calendars out, please.
What we would normally like is that at least you have the four corners, or have a representative have the four corners staked where the house was going to be.
With the house,
Yeah.
on that plan.
On whichever plan you're using at the time, so which,
Okay.
just have the four, I mean, it's
The
not
focus is just the house, that's all?
not a big house by a long shot.
No. Okay.
Where are we, in August?
Yes.
So the 7th, we usually do them on a Saturday morning about 9 o'clock. Are you still awake? Okay, we need everyone because we're down to 4 people. The 14th,
14's fine with me.
Mr.
Mark?
Poirier.
Yes.
Mr. Gray.
I guess I'm okay.
All right, the
What else am I going to do on a Saturday morning
Yeah, right.
in August? So, August 14th, we do these at 9 a.m.
And if you could have someone put like a marker, the lots, I mean, you come up to the easement and you drive past it before you realize that's where you're supposed to go in.
Yeah,
If you
the
can
way I
have this-
find it is just hit the power lines.
Yeah,
that's-
but just have, because that's where I assume we'd have to pull it in hard.
You do, pull in the dirt road, that's the
Okay.
only part that you can really
But
get.
if there could be somebody, just mark it with a cone, yeah, a cone's good.
Okay?
All right, and have them, do you want, who do you want, just you guys present, or do you want anybody else present?
Somebody who has access to the property to let us on.
Okay.
So who isn't an authorized, somebody's authorized to greet us and
Okay.
know that we were there.
What time again?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Perfect.
Anything further, Mr. Lyons? We good for tonight?
If I could just get your email address and I'll send you all that information that I have.
And while she's writing that down, I observe that there are some members of the public here. Does anybody want to be heard on this? They're all here for their own cases. So let the record reflect that nobody did want to be heard who was here with us tonight,
Thank you.
other than the petitioner. So,
So is this case, I move that we continue this case?
yes, you're going to move what? That we continue the case to August 24th.
Yep.
All in favor?
Say aye.
Aye.
Is there a
All
second?
opposed? So we're going to put this on our agenda for August 24th, Mr. Lyons. Do I hear a motion to conduct a site walk on August 14 at 9 a.m.?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that will happen on August 14th. So we shall look forward to seeing you or your representative then.
I will be there.
And thank you for your contributions this evening. And I know that Ms. Clark, before we leave this case and go on to the next one, was wanting an updated deed. Did you have the most recent deed? Because that was not available to us the
I do.
last time.
I have it.
Good.
Yeah, it's
So-
from the town of Carver to Adam O'Connor, I wanna say. Yeah, I do, I have it.
Is there anything else that you wanted to know about at the end of our last meeting that has not been addressed this evening?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lyons.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Moving on then to the next case, which is also a continued case. Case number 31-9-2R, the petitioner being Matthew Maroy. Maroy's? Marois.
It's your French, come on.
Sit right there, so we can see you clearly. And you're requesting, Matthew, a special permit pursuant to sections 2245C, 5221, and 5300, and sections following of the Carver zoning bylaw for property located at 48 South Meadow Road in Carver. That's Assessor's Map 104, Lot 8-E-R, so as to construct a 30 by 50 detached storage barn. The proposed barn is 1,500 square feet, maximum allowed is 700 square feet, at least that's the way it was advertised, with an enclosed 10-foot porch on the left and 10-foot enclosed porch on the right side of the storage barn in a residential agricultural district. I don't think this one is going to be as complicated as the one that we just heard. I started to develop a little headache. Because it's been
Well,
a long day
actually,
for me.
after you guys came out to my property a few weeks back, and you mentioned Plan B, which I sound on, but we've actually moved on to a Plan C,
All right.
which my wife got involved, and so...
That usually is a good thing, that's what I found.
It's good. But basically, I can get the plans for you. I have sent all the information to the builder who's drawing the plans. He didn't get them in time for me.
Okay, so let's stop here for a second.
Okay.
You know, and you're right, that we're going to need to see these plans. So
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to make a decision on this tonight. But I would be very interested in hearing what your Plan C is.
Excellent. All right, so the Plan C is the 50 by 30, which is the main part of the building.
Yep.
We'd like to keep that, but we'd like to take the walls away and make it like pavilion style. So we can use that partly for storage, partly for a patio, outdoor, out back. And then put an enclosed behind it, which would be 20 by 30, which would be, I think, 600 square feet of enclosed space. And then just have the overhead on the patio, so it's protected from weather, and do that.
So,
Rid of the big barn.
this is a big difference. For those of you who were here the last time.
I did not see that coming.
Well, I took off,
I
this
saw
plan B was that we took the porches off,
Yep.
but then we were like, all right, well, let's take both porches off, and my wife wants the patio, so I want the storage, so we kind of, and we need something big because my yard is very big
Yeah, yeah.
and space to fill, so, you know, we
So
wanted to kind of do a nice backyard kind of oasis under the pavilion, and then I could put all my firewood, everything else under it too, and the mower, and now I'll still have my workshop behind it. So,
So when you say a pavilion, there would be like a V roof over,
yeah.
and then
Open on four sides, is that, or?
Yeah,
or
well,
there's going to be walls on two sides.
no, we were just gonna do the building, the 20 by 30, we were thinking of, if we do the 20 by 30, just extend that roof forward, you know, with poles, basically.
I see.
All right, so you know what? And my wife teases me about this all the time. I'm a picture guy. I need to see the picture. It's hard for me to imagine this stuff in my mind's eye,
I get you.
although everybody else up here probably can see it.
Well, no, I'm pretending I was. I'm not really quite sure. I'm a picture guy too, so.
So you'd have the 20 by 30 structure.
Pavilion, right?
Enclosed.
No, 20 by 30 enclosed,
Yep.
And then the regular, what we had, 50 by 30 is going forward. So,
Well, the
But-
square footage that we count, excuse me, Ms. Clark, the square footage that we would count, I think, under this plan, if I'm understanding it correctly, is the 20 by 30 section.
yes, would be the
And
600.
that's conforming.
And that's conforming, so if you decide to do that, you can do that as of right.
You can do that without us.
But I talked to Jim,
Although, you know, I know you like to come and see us, and we're getting long gray.
well, no, I had sent in the Plan B, I gave to Jill 2 weeks ago, right after you guys were there.
Yeah.
And then it changed again, and so I wasn't sure what to do because I didn't have the plans yet, but I wanted to.
Well, you came to the right folks,
All right.
right? So I'm going to suggest, so that we can move this evening along
Yeah.
after that long first case, that if you're in the process of getting a new plan drawn,
I am, yes.
then we do a quick vote to continue this case until our next August date for you to bring in the plans. Then we can recalculate whether, you know, what the square footage is based on those plans and whether in fact you even need any relief from us.
Okay.
And if you don't, we will send you on your way and you'll drop a couple of pizzas up here. How's that
So
sound?
whatever it takes, you know. I can't, I might have a Plan D by then. This is,
So I just want to be clear. So you're talking about like an open, like a party pavilion where you would, I mean, because it's big.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking, you know, it would be open, and then you would have an attached,
on the back end.
the back end?
Yeah,
just-
so the building with
Space.
the 50 by 30 would still be where the stakes were when you guys were
Yeah.
there. And then we just add the 20 by 30, storage and workshop and everything else on the back of it.
He's still looking
But the-
for a 1,500 square
Well,
foot
not,
garage.
well, is the 50 by,
It's
is the
not
50 by
full.
30 open though? Are there walls?
Well, I mean,
How are you going to support it?
we'll have beams going up the side, but it won't be walled in. It'll be
It
all,
won't-
it'll
it's
be
open.
open.
Right.
It's
Three
open
sides.
on-
Open to the air.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a big open air space
Yeah.
there.
No, we do a lot of stuff and
Sounds like fun.
a lot of entertaining, so.
So how are you going to support the pavilion?
It'll be the same, basically almost the same frame as what the barn was gonna be, which would be, there'll be poles.
Okay,
You run outside, I don't have to be every 8 feet, as with the original plan.
I get it. The picture is starting to come together in my head.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it looks like a baseball cap, I guess, you know? The building's on one end, and we'd like to just keep it one roof, because eventually, we're thinking about doing solar on it or something like that. And,
So where's the door of the garage going to be in the back?
right on the front, so off the pavilion, so when you're walking off the patio or whatever, there'll be a door on one side.
So there's a little space from the end of the,
We're hoping, what I'd like to do is just one continuous roof, basically, just so there's nothing, if it rains, it's not.
what's the floor going to be in the pavilion? Is that poured concrete?
It'll just be a concrete slab for it.
So you're going to continue the pour right to where the front door of the garage would be?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So bring that plan in.
All right, he's in the process. I wish I could have had tonight, but this was,
No, that's okay.
I mean, when you do bring the plan in, if it's conforming, we would just be a formality to be able to close your hearing. But if it's 600 square feet, if I can still do math,
That's what it is.
then that's conforming. So you
Well,
don't
yeah,
need,
yeah,
you don't
sure.
need anything from us,
uh,
because
Well-
as long as it's 30 feet on each side.
oh yeah, I have all the
And it-
setbacks.
actually,
I have
it's
all
detached,
It's
so-
actually, now it's thinner now too, because I've taken the other porch off, so.
Where are you gonna do your lamps?
Well, my workshop just got smaller, basically. I'll do them outside. If it's raining, I can still work outside
Yeah, okay.
underneath.
Well, your garage, as proposed originally, and I think we told you this,
Yes, you did.
is I think arguably the biggest one we'd ever seen. Close to 2,000 square feet, bigger than your house. It's monstrous.
Oh.
So, I know
Yeah.
you didn't see it as monstrous, but given the house on the property and the fact that we've never gone that high,
No, I knew that.
it was a little, I think we were all a little bit taken back by it. So, we'll be anxious to see the new plans
All right.
and
And
see
hopefully the
what we can
final
do.
plans.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing.
to August 24th.
Yep. Second.
All right.
All in favor?
I should have the plans in next week.
That'd be
Okay,
great.
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for waiting.
Okay, that was interesting. All right, have a good night.
Good night.
And you too.
Did not see that coming.
Just clipped up. I see Tim Gainey out there.
Yes.
Tim, come up and sit in the black chair. It's not wired up, I promise you.
I brought pictures also.
Oh, see, get to know us.
Just give me a minute here while I get clipped up. Sure. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose track of what I'm doing. Which I think I already have.
Thank you.
This one. I'll read the notice in a second. Okay, I think I'm back in order here. So this next case, also a continued matter. The petitioner is Tim Gainey, requesting a special permit pursuant to sections 2245C, 5221, and 5300, and sections following of the Carver zoning bylaw for property located at 12 Mayflower Road in Carver. This is at Assessor's Map 122, Lot 9-1-5, so as to construct a 975 square foot detached garage. The maximum allowed per the bylaw is 700 square feet in a residential agricultural district. So we opened this case the last time and had a nice conversation. And you have some pictures, Mr. Gainey, that you say you brought, right?
Yes.
And I think the big issue for the board the last time, just to kind of set the landscape here for tonight's discussion, is that the garage, or part of it, was in front of the house, which is not anything that's allowed by right in the town of Carver. To be even with or in back of. So we were looking to see some pictures. It appears that, given the plan presented to us, that you would need 12 feet of relief to get that garage where it needs to get, based on your plan. So, having sort of introduced the various areas of concern, your turn to talk.
Well, on the new plan, I moved the garage back by about 3 feet. And he put a lot more dimensions on there.
So now you need 9 feet.
I believe it's 7.5 feet is the furthest point beyond the.
Okay,
front of
since
the
he's
house.
rejiggered the lines and the dimensions.
Right.
So, what did you say, 7.5?
I believe that's what it is, yes.
Go ahead.
I wanted to leave the garage detached, how I had it originally, for a couple of reasons. Just so I had some access between the house and the garage for as far as my oil fill is back there.
Did you, let me just interrupt for a second. Did you move the garage back to get the extra feet?
I moved it back just so it isn't as far beyond the front of the house as it was.
Still in front of the house by about 7.5 feet? Is
Yes.
that your testimony? So it's a little bit better than the last time you were in front of us.
Correct. Like I said, I wanted to leave it detached for a couple of reasons, access to the oil fill and my septic pumping and all that stuff.
It's up to you.
And also where it is, I pushed it as far back as I could on the property line side of the garage. I wanted to leave enough space there for if I ever had to get equipment out back to service my septic or my well or anything like that. So like I said, I pushed it as far back as I could.
So you need relief from 2245B? Is that what we decided the last time?
Yeah, and it's slightly oversized.
And because it's a little bit oversized.
Yeah.
So,
And what's the distance, I think we asked this last time, between the new mudroom and the garage?
6 feet.
6 feet, so that meets fire code. Okay.
so you need two variances. You need the variance of 7.5 feet, because that's the distance that the garage is now in front of the house, or one part of the garage anyway. Which part of the garage? It's the, well, it's pretty much all the way across, right?
About the center point of the garage.
Yep.
The way it sits on the lot.
So you need a variance under 2245B of about 7.5 feet, and then you need a variance on size.
Right, of 275 feet. 275 square feet.
Actually, it's a special permit.
Yeah.
Variance, for both of them, right?
Right.
Yes.
Or is it a variance on one and a special permit on the other?
Special permit.
For both?
Yep.
So how do you phrase 2245B relief? How do you,
He can put it in front of the house by 7 feet.
I don't know whether that's a variance thing or falls under the umbrella of the special permit. That's what I'm kind of asking you guys.
Well, unless we go out there and look at the topography and see if there was a distance.
It's easier, many people believe, to make a case for a special permit than it is for a variance. You sat through the first case. There's some very, very specific state law requirements, and if you don't show something unusual about, as we discussed, shape, soil, or topography, you don't get it. But with a special permit, you basically have to show that it's, what you want to do doesn't really do damage to your property or anybody else's in terms of the way it looks, the neighborhood, the characteristics of the neighborhood, traffic patterns, that kind of stuff. So that's amorphous enough for us to kind of fold projects under that are not specifically needing variances. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So 2245B relief would come under the special permit? Ms. Mello?
I'm gonna do 2300. Front setback.
While they're looking, Mr. Poirier?
Front setback should be.
Anything? Nothing. Mr. Poirier?
Well, the
Just yet?
setbacks are fine.
Ms. Mello?
I'm asking Chairman.
So there,
Are you looking for anything specific on the property? 'Cause it's about as flat as it can, as a field.
No, you're not, I don't think you're going to fall under any of the requirements that state law would put you to.
And actually, in the past, when we've had issues about whether a new structure is going to be in front of the house or behind the house, we've counted the stairs.
Yes, we have.
And I don't see those counted here. I just kind of vaguely drew a line.
So tell us about stairs.
Do you have a picture of the house and
you
the
got on the house, you don't want the stairs in the house.
stairs of the house? The front
Existing
steps.
stairs or
The front
proposed?
steps going into the house.
It's about 3 steps.
Yeah.
3 steps, are they cement?
And
Are
a
they
small landing, no, wooden
Wooden
stairs.
stairs.
Wooden stairs.
A small landing and 3 steps.
Because this could help you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I got,
Looking.
If the house is out further based on the extension of the stairs, maybe you don't need as much relief.
yeah, you can see this black and white, but it's landing 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we've counted those. Is
Yeah.
it-
Yep.
And every single case that we've had, we've counted those. If it's a porch, if it's steps, if it's, because it's part of the structure.
How far out would you say those stairs extend from the front of the house? You only have 3 steps.
But it's a-
6 feet or so?
I'm guessing about 6.
Yeah.
You have 4. 4 steps, and then you have a little step landing where the door opens.
Right.
So it's darn close. I wish Art had put that. Because I think in appearances, it's not going to look like it's in front of the house.
Based on the steps going out.
Based on the steps and based on they match the slant, because the house is turned
Right.
a little bit from the street.
When are you planning on starting this?
That's up to the contractor.
As soon as the permits are in place,
Do you need anything besides the one from us?
that's it.
Because what I'm thinking is, maybe you go back, measure the steps, see how far out from the front of the house they go. If it's 7.5 feet, you don't need that relief. The only relief you're going to need is the size relief. But
And I don't even think you need 7.5. I think you need 7.
Yeah,
7 feet
I don't see holding him up for another
without
one.
consideration of the stairs.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I know Mayflower Road, the houses are pretty far apart. It's kind of a little bog, a country rural road. The garage is certainly not oversized. I think we can grant him,
2 feet.
yeah, if we feel we should, or we can grant him the whole, because it's going to be based on this plan, and this plan does not have the measurement we wanted. And it would take another month to have him come back and ask us.
So what do we do? Why don't we think about this? We could consider giving you the relief on size that you're requesting, from 700 to 975, thank you. And also give you 2 feet of relief, because we believe that part of the garage is going to be in front of the house by that much. So that would be relief under 2245B. How does that sound?
I'd give him 3, just in case the measurements, give him wiggle room. Just because we don't, we can eyeball it, but
About 4.
I'm good with 4 too.
I'd rather have it be more.
A little bit more. Yeah, because, we have to, it's an inexact measurement here.
Mr. Poirier, what say you?
Should we keep going? 5?
I saw a picture of the front of the house with the steps. I mean, it won't tell you.
I mean, we have
Yeah, we
this
got
one.
a picture there.
We have a
Mike
picture.
had a picture.
Yeah, but that's, yeah. 4 feet, no,
I'd say give him 4 just to,
it sounds from what we've just said is that 4 feet should be more than enough.
yeah.
And we'll fold this under the umbrella of the special permit grant for size, so it'll all get hooked in. That way,
Now, I'm sorry, this plan here.
That's the old one, that's just a paper I
Oh,
had. Put
never
the,
mind.
Yeah. That was the one we had last
you know, if you
Yeah.
put a plan in front of this woman,
Let's
she's
draw a line
gonna pick it apart.
time. You used to ask for pictures, I just pulled it out of
You
the
just,
folder.
just put a line.
She's
to
that
the-
good.
Yeah.
The old ones.
Yeah,
Okay,
ignore
fine.
that.
That's fine, that's fine. I'm fine with those.
Anybody else? Do I hear a motion to close the hearing? Before we do, I'm sorry. I see one person sitting in the back.
It's my case.
It's her case.
Are you somehow connected to this gentleman in the black chair?
And would you like the garage too?
Please.
Make a motion to close the hearing. Who wants to make that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so this hearing is now closed.
Get your little rating.
I have to get my little thing here. I want somebody to make this motion. Based upon all of the foregoing, based upon the evidence presented, the board finds that it may award a special permit as the benefits of the proposed use outweigh the detrimental impacts on the town and the neighborhood, in view of the particular characteristics of the site and the proposal in relation to that site.
So moved.
Mr. Poirier had the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Finding now is made. I ask for this motion. to grant the special permit under the authority given to the board under sections 5221 and 5300 and sections following. All is more particularly described already through testimony. Relief, so you're going to get 275 square feet of relief on size. And relief is also granted from section 2245B of the bylaw in the amount of 4 feet, as this is the amount that we estimate the front of the garage, or the garage will be in front of the house. Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
To grant the special permit for relief on size and part of the garage being in front of the house. 275 feet and 4 feet respectively.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And this is going to be conditioned on the plan of record? Yes?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt that condition?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
So this has to be based on the plan that has become part of this record. You can't go off and start doing something different, because there are other boards and committees in town that have sometimes done that, or been a little bit too vague in not giving appropriate direction to a petitioner, and so the petitioner's gone off and done some things, and then there are repercussions. So we want to tie you to the plan of record. Okay? So Ms. Clark has a little spiel that she always gives the petitioner at this point. I turn the floor to her.
Yes. So what will happen is the decision will be written up in the next few days. It'll be filed with the town clerk's office. When it's filed with the town clerk's office, it will begin a 20-day appeal period in which all the people on your abutters list and yourself will get a copy of the decision as it was made. If they decide to take it to Superior Court and say that we were wrong and you shouldn't have your garage, then that's within the appeal period. At the end of the 20 days, the town clerk's office should call you, but I would suggest that you call them and ask to get the original copy. There'll be an original copy stamped by the town clerk, along with the certification that it has cleared the appeal period. You take that to the Registry of Deeds over at Obery Street, record that. I think it's about $125. I'm not entirely certain right now. And they will give you a copy. They'll give it back to you at the same time. When you bring that to the building department, you can get your building permit. But, you know, let them know this has all happened, and maybe they'll start reviewing your building permit ahead of time. Okay? So if you have any questions, it'll go from here to the town clerk's office, where it will sit for 20 days. Everybody will be mailed the copy of the decision. That's not the original. They will call you. I suggest you call her. Call that office to come in and pick it up. It won't be mailed to you. And then take it to the Registry of Deeds over on Obery Street by the prison and record it. And then you're good to go.
Okay.
And you'll have your garage before the snow flies.
Thank you.
Okay.
What's that? Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda tonight is whether there's any correspondence that needs to be addressed, or whether there are any new issues that need to be discussed. Anybody have anything? So we know that our next public hearing date is the 24th at 7 p.m. and the site walk on the
14?
On the 14th, that's on the Mo Lyons case 41-6C. And the Matthew Maroy's case has been continued to the 24th as well.
Yep.
So, we've made some progress this evening. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, Town of Carver, for listening. Thank you, Area 58, for your intrepid camera ship. And we hope everyone has a happy and healthy few weeks before we come back again. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, all.
Good night.